So as we go back to Sam's bookstore, we're trying to figure out how many books that he should order for his to maximize his profit. Now, in this example, though, we have two different things going on. It's not just a matter of how many books Sam buys, it's also going to be a matter of what the demand is going to be. So we've got two different things going on because, if he buys 500 books and demands 4,500, well, that's going to give him a different answer than if he buys 4,500 books and demand is 500. So how do we take a look at this all at the same time is we're going back and using our friendly data table. This time we're going to do a two-way data table. So we're going to change two numbers in our formula. So data table of profit as a function of order quantity, which is, this is here along the side, and demand along the top. So much in the same way that we did the data table in the other example, first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull our profit equation down here. Now, this equation, so the two things that we're going to be changing, order quantity and demand, we already know that they're both variables that contribute to what the profit's going to be. And so this time what we're going to do is all of these in here are going to get filled. So we're going to highlight everything. So we're going to highlight the profit and our two attenuations, and then the big blank spot there. We're going to go data, what if analysis, and data table. So now we've got two different things. The row input cell, the ones along the row, that's going to be demand. So I'm going to say, okay, well, I'll let you change demand. And then the column input cell, here's the stuff in the column, and that's going to be our order quantity. We'll pick order quantity, and there we go. Hit OK, and through the magic of Excel, boom, it popped a bunch of stuff into the table, and we can kind of go and we'd be able to look and see, okay, well, if I order 2,500 and demands 3,000, well, I'm going to make 19,375. Got a lot of going on here, so let's actually take a look at a little visual thing. We're going to do what's called conditional formatting. I love conditional formatting, use it quite a bit. Under home, we're going to go conditional formatting. And there's a lot of different stuff here that you can play with. We're just going to go right to color scales, and we're going to do a 3-color scale, green to red. And so that's going to make green the highest, red the lowest, and so we can kind of see kind of like a topographical map and figure out what's going on. So we can see where our biggest values are, where our biggest negative values are, and kind of how they change in there through that. Okay, so that's kind of, we can look at it and Sam can kind of make a decision based on what's going on. But what we want to do is now we want to take this information and we want to figure out what the chances are that what the profit's going to be based on a probability demand. And so Sam has put together a probability chart for us from 500 to 4,500 and the chance that each of these had happened. So these are all percentages. So if I go here home, change this to percent, this will tell you these are all the percentage chance that that will be the demand. And just to make sure, we do want to make sure that it sums up to 100. So if I sum all of this, put it together, and see what it says, 100%, which is good. That's what we expect. Okay, so how do we figure out what the expected profit would be? So if you remember from taking a business statistics class, when you have a probability distribution, if you take the percentage chance that each one of these distributions will happen, multiply it by the profit or the number that you would have at each of those levels, and that will give you what's called the expected profit. So that is kind of an average value of what you expect based on the probability. Now, that doesn't mean that's what you're going to make, because if you order 1,500 books and the expected value for 1,500 is going to be, something like $9,500 positive, you can still lose money, because if the probability comes out that you hit that 2.5%, it's going to be negative $9,500. So this is good for a comparative solution so you can look at it to choose between alternatives. Because once again, once you throw the probability in there, all bets are off. Things happen. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, what we're going to do is we are going to use probably the best Excel function, which is sum product. And this is an array function, and it will take two arrays, multiply each member of the arrays together, and then add everything together. So if I take sum product, and we're going to take what the profits would be from an order quantity of 500, so this row right here, and we're going to copy that, and then we're going to multiply it by the percentages, so our probabilities. So what this is going to do is this is going to take 2.5% multiplied by 3,000, 5.5% multiplied by 3,000, add the two together, 15% multiplied by 3,000, add it, and it's just going to do that the entire way down. So if I hit enter, that means my expected profit would be $3,000. Now let's put this in. I'm going to copy. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to paste my format. Oh, I didn't want to do that because I'm grabbing the conditional formatting. It brings that down too. So let's go up here and copy this and paste down the format from that. And so that puts the right value. Okay, great. And so power of Excel, one of the nice things is we've got this, and I can just drag this down and it will fit everything in, except, oh my gosh, we've got a lot of different problems here. What is going on? What's going on is what's called indexing. So if I look at this, it's going to take this row of stuff and it's multiplying it by this. Now I drag it down one, so I'm changing the row by one. So what's going to happen is Excel goes, oh, so you're moving that down, so that B23J23, I'll change that to B24J24. And then I'll do the same thing for B35J35. So if I look at this and I click on it, you'll see that, okay, well, I didn't want this one to go down. I didn't want this one to move. So what we get into with Excel is we've got a couple of different things. One is, two ways to do it. First one is the $ operator. So if I go in here and I don't want the B35 to change. Now if I sit here and go, if I put a $ in front of the row number, what happens now is Excel sees that $ and goes, I'm not going to change that 35. That will always be the same. But it'll still allow the B to change. So, and if you want to lock both of them in, you put a $ in front of both, and that means that B35, that will never change no matter what you do. And I'm going to highlight the J35. Another trick is you can hit F4 on a PC, puts both $ in, and then you can hit it and it will cycle through the permutations back to nothing. Okay, so now I've got that in there. So if I go and I drag that down, you can see that this one here indexes just like I want to. This one does not. And whenever I do any kind of indexing, I always go and I pick a couple just to make sure it's doing what I want. And actually, if I drag it this way too, you'll see that, well, that one shifted, but this one still stays rock solid. So we're all good. The other way to do it, though, is using that range name that I showed you before. Now I can either go up here and type that in, or the easier option would be to highlight everything with this probability and go Formulas, Create from Selection. We'll use that. It's always going to default to where the words are because it goes, oh, I think that you want to put words in there. Say left column, say OK. And so now if I highlight all that, you'll see that it is now that array is probability. So if I go in here and replace this with probability, and I can just start typing it in, and you can see it gives me everything that begins with P, and then I get that little symbol that says that's my defined one. I hit Tab, it'll fill in the entire thing for me. I hit Enter, and so now you can drag that down. Because words, since they don't index, it's all locked into place. Okay, and so there we go. And then, since I'm trying to hedge my bets, what I can do here is let's go to Home, Conditional Formatting, and I want to highlight Cell Rules, and we're going to go Top Items. We'll go to More Rules, because it sets for the top 10. It's like, nope, I want to go for the top 1, and then we'll say Format, and we want to fill that in with, I'm going to fill that in with a green, so I know. Okay, And so there we go. So it automatically will highlight the top one. And so that tells me the highest expected profit that I have is for 2,000 units. And once again, set it up with conditional formatting, so if any of our base stuff changes, that will change automatically. All right. So as we're looking at this, based on the provided probability distribution, the order quantity that's going to provide the highest average or expected profits is 2,000 units. So you have a couple of alternatives though. This gives you the highest potential profits. Well, we could order 1,500, and why would we do that? So if I look up at 2,000, I can lose money on two of the different things. So there's a higher probability of failure. If I order 1,500, I only lose money at 500 units. So there's a lower upside because our maximum profit is only 10,500, but we have a higher probability of positive profit. So we're only going to hit a negative profit 2.5% of the time. So we have a 97.5% chance of a positive profit. Okay, what's the next thing? Is, well, we can step it up one and say, okay, we're going to order 2,500 units. Why would we do that? 2,500 has a lower expected or average profit. Well, at 2,500 units, my upside's a lot bigger. Because at 2,000, my upside, the most that I can make is 15,500. Well, at 2,500 units, my upside is going to be 19,375. So I have a higher maximum profit. Now, the problem is, this is a little bit riskier. Because if I look at it, I've got 3 values of demand where it's going to go negative. So I have a if I add these up, I have 22.5% chance of having a negative profit. So I do have a higher upside, but I'm balancing that against I have a higher probability of a negative profit. So what's the right answer? Well, it's all about justifying it. So 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 can all be the correct answer, but once again, it comes to justifying. If you did 1,500, you go, well, we're doing this because it's the safest bet. You know, we're going to 97.5%, we're going to make money. Or if your tolerance for risk is a little bit greater, you can go, well, we're going to order 2,500. And we're going to do that because, you know, we still have a 77.5% chance that we're going to have a positive profit, and I have a greater upside. So it all comes down to how are you going to tolerate risk? And there we go. So that is how we work this out, and that's how we use these different functions. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.